Alright guys, welcome back. And building up on my last video where I went over my M1 Finance portfolio, today I want to talk about why I choose to invest with M1 and go over the pros and cons so you can decide if M1 Finance will be a right match for your investing journey. And before that, let me give you a brief portfolio update because it has been a massive up week. If you just want to get right into the pros and cons, click ahead to the time right above. So as you can see, my total account balance right now is $18,759, which is up $1,438 from my previous update of $17,321. Just to be completely honest, I did deposit $500, but even minusing that, it's still $938 up from my previous update, which is massive. Overall, the stock market is doing very well. From the low of March 23rd, is now up almost 43%, which is just shy about 200 points away from its all-time high, which it reached on February 19th, which is crazy because don't forget, the coronavirus pandemic is still happening, so there's still a lot of uncertainty with this rally, and a lot of people are still standing off on the side with a lot of money, hoping and expecting that there will be an upcoming stock market sell-off again. So in this midst of this market uncertainty, what am I doing? Nothing really. I'm still contributing weekly, regardless of if the market is up and down. I haven't changed any of my allocations. From my previous video, you know that I have 5% of my portfolio in bonds, which is split between 5 different bond ETFs. And each of these pies, let me just click here real quick. Each of my pies have 10 stocks in the corresponding sectors, and each stocks are basically 10% of that allocated pie. But because of the possibility of the market sell-off, I'm still holding cash, and also the bonds also serve as my short-term cash holding. So all in all, across my 4 different accounts, I'm holding about $2,900 in cash and bonds, which I'm going to be able to deploy right away if there is indeed a market sell-off. But because I'm not sure if this market rally is going to die down thanks to all the intervention and with the economy being reopened up slowly, a lot of people are very optimistic of a quick economic recovery as highlighted by the V-shaped recovery that we're going on right now. So because I'm not sure if this market is going to go up or down, I'm still investing weekly regardless, but I still have about 15% of my entire net worth set aside in cash so I can deploy it just in case of a sell-off, which is something that I recommend everyone do to make sure that you're not all in at any one time, to make sure you have at least 10 to 30% of your investment in cash just so you can take advantage of any situations that will come up. Because remember, even though states are now slowly reopening and businesses are trying to regain their customers, because of the protests that we've been seeing, experts are afraid that there will be a second wave of coronavirus infections. So because we're not sure how things will pan out within the following weeks and months, it's important to get ready for all situations. And that's basically it for my portfolio update. As you can see, it's very close to hitting the next milestone of $20,000. I think if things go well and, with my weekly deposit, I might be hitting that $20,000 mark within the next few days or so. So with that said, let's get right to the video. I started using M1 Finance since September of 2018. So about 20 months I've been using this brokerage, and I have to say, of all the brokerages that I have used, this is by far the one that I really enjoy using. But I do want to talk about this big thing that's always bothered me about having to use M1 Finance. It's their logo. As you can see, this is their logo right now, but if you go by off their name, M1 Finance, I think this logo fits better to what their name is. I don't know, it's just every time I log onto my computer or my phone and I look at this logo, it just kind of like annoys me in a way. It's just a little pet peeve of mine. So if you aren't aware, M1 Finance is one of those many online brokerage, but the key difference is it's basically a hybrid of robo-investing where the computer, the system, and the algorithm, they basically help you make investing decisions on what to buy and sell, but it's also you're able to self-manage and create your own pies. If you haven't seen my last video where I break down my entire stock market holding, basically the easiest way to think about how you invest with M1, and might be confusing if you're not used to it, is you're able to create these thing called pies, and within those pies you're able to put in individual stocks or ETFs or anything like that make up each pie slices. So for example, I have my technology sector. This is my technology pie. If I click in, you're able to put in as many slices as you want, as long as the allocation, as you can see with the bolded 10%, as long as these 10%, everything adds up to 100 to make up the complete pie, it doesn't matter. If you want, I currently have 10 stocks in this pie. You can basically put 100 different companies, each consisting 1%. As long as the total allocation equals 100, then you're allowed to do it. But if you look at my technology pie, I also have another pie within a pie. So essentially, if you really wanted to, each pie you can have 100 slices, and each slices you can also create their own pie and have their own 100 slices. So if you really wanted to, you can have 10,000 stocks individually. Why you want to do this? I don't know. If you want to test it out, you can definitely can, but I'm not going to go into that right now. So because of this ability to create pies and slices, which I haven't seen with other brokerage, you're able to custom make what you want to invest in, and you're able to create multiple pies if you'd like. So it's very flexible, which I do enjoy. Another great thing is you're able to create multiple accounts within your M1 account, and you don't even need any money in order to create an account. And you basically have the option to create a taxable account, or if you wanted, you can do a joint investment account, or you can also do a retirement account. I don't think other brokerage, some brokerages do, but other brokerages like Robinhood, they currently don't offer a retirement account. So if you're looking to plan for your retirement, which I'm doing right now, I have a Roth IRA, two of them, one for myself and one for my wife with M1. This is basically another appeal of M1. And you're able to also create a trust account for your children or beneficiary and estates and things like that. So in order to create an account, once again, you don't need to put any money down. If you want to open a taxable account, you just need to put in $100. But for retirement accounts, you have to put in $500. So those is the minimum funding requirement for just your initial deposit. And afterwards, you can just put in, $1, $10, anything like that. As you can see, unlike other more a legacy brokerage like Vanguard, they don't currently offer a custodial account that you can create for your children, but I think I read somewhere that they're looking to create that option, which will basically make them more competitive in this brokerage landscape. If you look right here, they give you the option to roll over an existing 401k, which I did with my previous employer. I had a 401k with them, but when I created and I switched over to another job, I basically rolled over that balance into my current M1 retirement account. And it didn't really take that long. I just had to talk with a customer service rep, and it was a quick back and forth email, and it was done without any hassle. Okay, so I'm going to briefly go over the different tabs of the M1 website. So we were in the investment tab, which shows you the different account that you have with M1 Finance, and the transfers tab basically tells you the total M1 balance. Basically, I have everything invested. That's where my bulk of all of my money is. But they also have this thing called M1 Spend and M1 Borrow. If you click right here, M1 Spend, they have a digital bank account and a debit card that they give you that works well with your investment account. But I personally don't have this, but if you like, you basically earn 1% of all the money that you have in it. And if you use their debit card, they also give you 1% cash back. But this is only if you enrolled with M1 Plus, which I do have, as you can see. I have that plus right over here. But personally, I don't really see the point because I do have Marcus by Goldman Sachs, which earns 1.3% right now. So I'd much rather have my money in Marcus as opposed to here. And I also have the Citibank Double Cash, which basically earns 2% cash back. And as opposed to this being a debit card, I have a credit card, which offers more protection. The next one up is M1 Borrow. So the thing with M1 Borrow is you're basically able to borrow up to 35% of your individual and joint portfolio on margin. So instead of going through like a bank, for example, you're able to get a 3.5% interest if you just have a regular M1 account, or if you're an M1 Plus account holder like me, you get the low rate of 2%. But the thing that you have to remember is you have to have a portfolio that's over $10,000, and it only works for individual accounts. So because I only have retirement accounts, I'm not able to use this for my retirement fund. But if I put in more than $10,000 on my regular taxable account, I'm able to utilize M1 Borrow. But like I mentioned, I don't really use the borrow amount and the spend amount, as you can see on my transfer tab. I just solely use it for the investment part of M1, which still offers a lot of benefits. And the final tab up here is the research tab, which basically gives you all the market news that you want to see. On the left side, you have the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, and the NASDAQ. And if you scroll through, you just see the news of the entire stock market. And then you have the stock section. And if you go into each different stocks, for example, I go into Apple, they basically tell you the brief overview. And at the bottom, they give you the latest news of just Apple. Right next to it, you have funds, like I mentioned, along with being able to invest in stocks. And when they allow you to invest in ETFs, so you have the Vanguard ETFs, the iShare ETFs, or the Spider ETFs. You have a lot of choices. For ETFs, you have 1,912. And for stocks, you have 3,833. So lots of stocks that you can research and put into your pies or your slices, depending on what you want to do. The next part is my pies. Basically, you're able to create your own individual pies by clicking over here. Pick Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. You hit add. So I basically created a new pie. And if you click the edit button right over here, you can change this however you like. For example, I can change Google's allocations to 50, but it shows that the total is 125. So if I try to save it, it's not going to work, which means I have to lower the rest into fit 100% criteria. So I can do 10, 10, and then 30. So once this allocation is complete, I'm able to save. And you have lots of flexibility on how you want to set up your pies. So as you can see, 50% is on Google, 30% on Microsoft, and Apple and Amazon have 10 piece. So if I put in $100, $50 is going to go into Google, $30 is going to Microsoft, and Amazon and Apple is going to get $10 each. So the next tab is going to be Express Pie, and this is another benefit if you're new to investing and you need inspiration or you're not sure where to begin. The Express Pie section is going to be of great help. If you're not sure what to do, you can basically go into general investing, and they basically have pre-made pies for you to choose. So if you're feeling that your investment style is more conservative, you basically click this pie and you can add to portfolio to invest right away. And for each individual portfolio, you can basically scroll down to see how they basically invest. Because this is the ultra conservative, they put the majority of their money in their treasury bonds. But if you go back again, if you want to go ultra aggressive, the majority of the money is going to be on the developed market ETFs. In addition to that, you have the plan for retirement, which basically lets you invest based on what age you're going to retire in. So my retirement age, I think, is around 2050. So if I want to go more aggressive, I can click this option, or I can go more conservative or more moderate. And this goes all the way down to 2060. You have responsible investing, which basically shows you a list of all the ETFs and different stocks that are more socially responsible if you want to invest in that directly. This is a lot more for dividends and just stocks and bonds and other strategies. But one of the most interesting thing they have is basically this section, which is the hedge fund followers. If you click on it, they don't have all the different hedge funds, but the ones that is more well known. As you can see, you have Berkshire Hathaway or Icahn Capital. So if you wanted to follow what Carl Icahn is doing, you can basically click this and you can add to the portfolio, and you can also see how he's broken down into. Eesh, that's gotta hurt. But back to the main page. So a lot of people hold Warren Buffett as high regards. So if you wanted to follow exactly what Warren Buffett is doing with his Berkshire Hathaway, you basically can go here and you can click add to portfolio, and you'll be investing exactly how Berkshire Hathaway invests. They currently have 20 holdings, paying a dividend of around 2.1%, and these are all the holdings that they have. But for example, if you feel like you still want to invest how Berkshire Hathaway investment pie is set up, but you want to change the allocation, it's very simple. You take all of his 20 holdings and you go right over to My Pies. I created one for this example. You basically click here, and you're able to change however you like. If you think that Costco is going to go much higher than everything else, you can increase Costco and you can lower the other things. Remember, as long as the total matches 100, your pie is pretty much set. So lots of flexibilities on how you can do. And the final thing, of course, is the watch list, where you can add all the companies that you want to keep an eye on during your investment journey. So one of the great thing of M1 Finance and, of course, brokerage nowadays is that they don't have any fees. Back in the day when I was investing with Scottrade, for example, each trade, buy or sell that I made, I had to pay a fee of about, I think, $6 or $7 per trade, which is crazy if you think about it right now. Because if you go back to when I first started investing with M1, my very first trade was for $19.99, and I bought 92 different holdings. If I times that by the Scottrade, I think, fee of $5.95, it means I would have paid $547 in just fees alone for that one trade. But nowadays, thanks to Robinhood, which started this whole commission-free trading, and M1 Finance now also offers that as well, you can basically buy and sell as much stocks as you like without having to worry about any fees. The only fees that I know M1 Finance charges, and it's honestly not even M1 Finance, if you go to the fund section and you buy these ETFs, they have these expense ratios. Vanguard's, they have the lowest expense ratio, but it's good to keep an eye out on this. So if we go back to my very first trade that I made, you'll basically see that I'm basically buying 20 cents a piece of all these major companies. And you might be thinking, wait, these stocks aren't trading at 20 cents, so how am I able to buy it? And this brings me to another benefit of M1 Finance, which is you're able to buy fractional shares of companies. On my very first trade, I bought 40 cents of Amazon, which is mind-blowing because right now Amazon share price is close to $2,483. But in M1, thanks to fractional sharing, I'm able to start off with just buying 40 cents. And if you go to my current holding of Amazon right now, I don't even have enough money to be able to buy one share. As you can see, my Amazon slice is only $230, which is 0.09% of one share of Amazon. But this is the great things about fractional share purchases. And if you are currently in a brokerage that doesn't allow fractional share, really consider moving to one that offers fractional shares. I didn't have to wait until I had almost $2,500 to buy one share of Amazon, even though I only had 40 cents to begin with. I was able to buy Amazon right away so I can start investing in this amazing company. Which is great because thanks to dollar cost averaging and me investing regardless of the market being up and down, my average share price of Amazon is $1,700. As you can see, the current share price at $2,483, I have gotten massive gains, which I wouldn't have been able to, or I would have missed out on if I had to wait to buy one share of Amazon in its entirety. And this fractional aspect also works with dividends. Basically, if I go to my activities and I click on dividends, all of these companies, they're basically paying me dividends, even though I might not own one share in its entirety. So this is one of the great reasons why I recommend M1 Finance to anyone who asks me, which brokerage am I personally using and which one they should use, is I tell them to always go with a brokerage that allows fractional share purchases and also allows dividends to be paid out in fractional amounts. That way, you can start investing right away, even if you have $10 or even $100. A lot of people don't get started with investing because they think, I only have $10 or $20 a month to put in. But thanks to M1 Finance and now Robinhood and other brokerage accounts, you're able to purchase fractional shares so you can start building right away. That we don't have to wait for you to have $2,400 to buy one share of Amazon or $1,000 to buy one share of Google, things like that. You can get started right away, which is the beauty and the main benefit of M1 Finance. And another big reason why I like investing with M1 is very intuitive. This is where the robo aspect part comes into it. So for example, if I go into my consumer staple pie and I click to my target allocation, even though I have all of these stocks set to 10% each, currently Carnival is almost 20%, so it's almost double his allocation. So once again, the 10% is what I want Carnival to be, but because of his stock appreciation, it's now almost double that. And one allows you to rebalance it automatically. Rebalancing means it's going to sell off stocks that are overweight. As you can see, I have Carnival that's a bit overweight and also Wynn Resort that's overweight. It's going to sell this and it's going to buy stocks that are underweight, which means less than this allocation. Right now, Alibaba is only 7.7% of that 10%. So it's going to sell Carnival and it's going to buy more of Alibaba. As you can see, if you hit the rebalance button, it's going to say, do you want to rebalance? Next trading window is going to buy underweight slices and sell overweight slices. If you hit confirm, it shows that the upcoming trade, I'm going to be buying 8 companies and sell 2 of them. You can also go to details. So it's going to sell Carnival, almost $250, and Wynn, $66. So it's going to cut down these two to make it hit the 10%, and all these companies that are under that 10% mark it's going to buy more of. And there's another way to rebalance. You can basically click this rebalance button and the system will do it automatically for you, or you can go over to this buy and sell. So if I say I put in $100, it's going to show right here I have a pending buy order of $100 within this one pie. So what's it going to do? It's not going to buy any more of Carnival or Wynn. If you click go right here on the details again, it's going to buy once again Alibaba because it has the less. It's going to automatically put in and buy more of whatever you're underweight in. So if you wanted to do the rebalancing thing on Robinhood, for example, I'm going to say Robinhood because I used that brokerage before, I would have to go into each individual stocks and see what the percentages are and basically do some mathematics and figure out what to put in. But with M1 Finance, it takes all the guesswork out. You basically can push the rebalance button to have the system take care of it for you, or if you want to rebalance by putting in more money, you go to the buy and sell section to deposit more money and it'll rebalance on its own. And this button right here is once again the edit button. It allows you to change over the allocation if I feel like Carnival because it's so high, or if I want to now have Carnival's allocation to 20%, I can go 20% right here. I can lower everything to 2, as long as the total match is 100%. Another feature that they have that's very useful is you're able to select how much you want the money to auto invest. So right now I have a cash balance of $501. I set my minimum cash balance to $500, but if I wanted to automatically invest $50 the next day, I change it to $451 and I hit update. And you go down here, it's gonna go into the detail and it's gonna automatically buy $51 of whatever I'm currently underweight in. So right now SBA Communication, which is the cell tower REIT, is currently underweight. Same with Digital Realty and Crown Castle. It's going to buy whatever is underweight. It's going to be whatever is underweight of this entire thing. In my previous example with Carnival, it was just allocating and rebalancing whatever was in this single pie. But if I do it out here, it's going to take into consideration everything. Because right now the three companies that the system's automatically going to buy is going to be in the real estate pie, which is currently lower than the 19% I've allocated. The system is automatically going to buy whatever is underweight. So you don't have to do any guesswork or anything like that compared to Robinhood or other brokerage, which gives you less things to worry about. So even though it might seem very confusing on how the system works, once you get used to it and you get used to the pies and the different slices, it's very intuitive and very easy. So even though you might be new to investing, I would strongly recommend you start with M1 Finance because of the flexibility it offers, the lack of fees, and the amount of customization that they are able to give you. Definitely think about considering M1 Finance. Now with all the good stuff out the way, let's get into some negative M1 Finance, which exists, but I don't think it's warranted. It's not big enough for me to switch away from M1 Finance right now. The one thing that you have to realize with M1 Finance is they don't allow you to trade whenever you'd like. You might have noticed the section right here, upcoming trades. Basically, you have one trading window, which is 10 a.m. for me right now because I'm on the Eastern Seaboard. If I had the basic M1 account, it's only going to be able to trade in the morning at 10 a.m. for myself. But because I'm currently a member of M1 Plus, it gives me two trading windows. But even though I'm M1 Plus, I'm not able to trade these two because I'm currently under the threshold. I think you need to have about $25,000 to be able to trade both windows. But right now, because I'm only sitting at around $18,000, I have the option of either trading only in the morning or only in the afternoon. So keep that in mind. If you want to do more day trading in and out, or have more flexibility of what you can buy, like limit order, market order, things like that, Robinhood would have you covered. Once again, the Robinhood, they're now rolling out fractional share purchases. So even if you have $10 with Robinhood, you're going to be able to buy Amazon with them as well. But Robinhood having more flexibility on being able to buy whenever you like and the different kinds of order. If you want more flexibility in terms of when you're able to buy and sell, definitely go with Robinhood. But with that said, I do recommend M1 Finance still, because if you're new to investing, you might end up trading in and out of stocks because you're not sure. By only having these two trading windows or a single trading window, if you're just starting, if you don't go with the M1 Plus, basically gives you pause and allows you to make more informed decision, more permanent decision, because if you end up trading and you want to switch back, you have to wait till the next day. So because that ability to buy and sell as quickly as you like or whenever you like is taken away from you, for someone who's just starting out, having a bit of level-headedness is going to be very important, so you build good habits and good investment strategies. And this next issue that I have with M1 Finance is whenever a new stock comes and is able to be traded, whenever a stock has an IPO, for some reason it doesn't show up on M1 Finance. You're not able to buy it as soon as it IPOs. And this is one example. When Levi's started trading on March 21st, on Robinhood it started showing Levi's right away on the 21st, but I wasn't able to find Levi's on M1 Finance. Same one with DraftKings when they IPO'd. On Robinhood, I was able to find it right away and start buying and selling if I wanted to. But for M1 Finance, I wasn't able to buy it on the same day that it came out. I was able to buy it the following day, which was the Monday. And this next issue that I have with M1 Finance is more of a specific company issue, but it's still something worth noticing. This is basically the different position changes that the companies that I've went through. Basically Raytheon and United Technology, they basically merged as companies to create Raytheon Technologies. But as you can see, it was basically a whole confusion on how M1 wanted to execute it. So before this whole position change happened, I was holding both Raytheon and also United Technology, these two companies separately as it was. But because of my allocation and because of the pies and the slices and how everything needs to match to 100%, the system automatically did some random things. It added these two, but because on my pies I didn't have Otis or Carrier included, because once again I wasn't even able to buy these two things because M1 Finance doesn't allow you to buy companies on their IPO. It didn't add automatically into my portfolio. That's why you see this negative it basically sold out again, but then it ended up buying them again. And it automatically sold out on Raytheon without me authorizing it. And with that money that it took out, it basically combined it with the United Technology slice that I had, creating Raytheon Technologies. So as you can see, it's very confusing. Right now I have Raytheon Technologies and Otis in my slice, but because when the whole stock split merger thing was happening, I didn't have Otis included in my pie. It didn't know what to do with it, so it held off that money separately, and I wasn't able to even see it in my cash balance. And this is originally United Technologies, but now it's switched over to Raytheon Technologies. So keep that in mind. I hope M1 Finance is able to better figure out this situation for companies that do stock splits and stock purchases and things like that, because during those few trading days, I was very confused and I didn't know what was going on. If you look at this Reddit thread, it's basically people talking about the same issues that they have. How M1 Finance is super slow with keeping up with stock splits, mergers, spin-offs. This guy says his Fidelity is perfectly updated, and even Robinhood is already updated, but M1 Finance is not able to update as quickly, for example. It might have to do it because of the way that pies and slices are set up, and if you don't have a company within your slice or within your pie, it doesn't know what to do with it, so it leaves that money off to the side. But I hope they find a better way to deal with the situation, because it's going to lead to a lot of headaches like I've experienced. For all your international viewers right now, M1 Finance is unfortunately only offered in the United States. But I believe the CEO has mentioned that they are looking for international expansion, but right now, because of where they want to focus, they're only focusing on the United States, which kind of makes sense. And a few final complaints have to do with the support. When I was rolling over my 401k over to M1, that was seamless. But if you go into my fundings tab, this is once again my Roth IRA. So even though for the year of 2018, the maximum allowable investment was $55,000, for some reason it's showing $57,000. And even though I've been trying to contact M1 support and I've gone back to back, they said it will be fixed, but I think I sent out that email a couple months ago. It's still showing that I've invested $57,000, which is a bad thing, because for Roth IRAs, if you put in more than what it says you're able to, I think you have to pay a penalty of maybe 10%, but hopefully this doesn't cause any trouble down the line. And online, you'll be able to read other complaints that people have on M1 Finance. A lot of complaints have to deal with their support because of how small the company is compared to other brokerages like Vanguard or Charles Schwab's Fidelity. You don't get that instant person on the phone. Usually you get the voicemails and you're able to leave a message, or you have to send them an email, and they don't really get back to you in a timely fashion. So if you have a pressing issue, you might not get it resolved as quickly as other brokerages that are more established like Vanguard's or Fidelity. That's why if you have large sums of money to invest, and if you're unsure of, because M1 Finance is only a few years old, start off with a few $1,000s or whatever you feel comfortable in. And once you get more used to it, you can put in more money. And like I also mentioned before, fractional share purchases used to be the selling point of M1 and why a lot of people flock to it. But now that other brokers like Charles Schwab's and Robinhood, they're now also offering fractional shares, the appeal of M1 Finance might be a bit diminishing. But if you're like me and you like the aspect of the customization and being able to create pies and slices, I think M1 Finance will be a great fit for you. So that's basically it. That's M1 Finance in a nutshell. And I think this will be a very long video. And if you stuck through it, thank you so much. You're a real MVP. And to show your support, if you learned something from this video, make sure you hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment on if you're investing with M1 Finance or what brokerage that you're using and why you're sticking with that brokerage. Once again, M1 Finance, along with any other brokerage, might not be for everyone, but it works for me and for my needs as a retirement account. I hope this video helps you decide if you want to start investing with M1 or if you want to move from your current brokerage to M1 Finance. If you do decide to open up an account with M1 Finance, I do have my M1 referral links down below where you can receive $10 if you sign up and you fund your account. So when I was making this video, I ended up logging back to my Robinhood account. As you can see right now, I have $0 in Robinhood because I moved all of my money to M1 Finance. And I was happening to scroll through my history of account. As you can see, I did a lot of buying and selling, but this basically caught my eye. On July 25th of 2016, I sold out of my Apple share. I had 12 Apple shares, but I sold out at $97.96. Do you know what Apple is trading at right now? $331.50, which means if I held on to that 12 shares and I sold them at today's prices, I would have made a profit of $2,802. So in my next video, I'm going to go down memory lane and talk about all the money I could have potentially earned or have lost if I stayed invested in all of my stocks I have purchased during my use of Robinhood. I think this will be a very fun, bittersweet video. So if you want to see how much money I've missed out on, make sure to subscribe, like once again. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back next time with more financial shenanigans.